money that we're going to borrow. When we borrow money, all that does is cost you more money. I believe that our major portion of our debt isn't paid off till 2021 now, and I believe that was for all the roads they paved out here. Maybe we should have looked at that and gone a little slower. I'm not sure if that's the correct answer or not. I wasn't super involved back then, and I haven't dug into it that far. But we need to look at what we're spending. We need to make sure that we have the money, that we're not going to overtax our residents, that we're not going to overtax our budget. We have a reserve. There's $1.8 million, I understand from one of the meetings I went to, that's going to be needed for part of the culvert or the water movement out by the canal, the C-51 or whatever. I always get the names wrong, M-51, I'm sorry. But they postponed $300,000 against that they wanted to tax you for that. I don't know if that's the right move. We need to start accruing money for that, so when it comes up, maybe we have $900,000 or $1.2 million in a kitty that's sitting on the side. They see this is going to cost 1.8. Okay, guess what? We have 1.2 sitting on the side, and we can pull that out and pay for almost that entire project. So we're not hitting our residents with 1.8 in loans that we've taken out on top of interest that they're going to pay.
Thank you, Tim. Michelle.
Whew. Interesting. Okay, so when I was president of the board underneath my leadership, the budget did not increase. This year, the budget increased by 3%, which I opposed. Our parks budget is only 9% of our entire budget. If you lived in or reside in the acreage prior to the parks and prior to the R2 plan, which is what you're making reference to, this community was not valuable. It became valuable after the R2 plan was implemented, and it was valuable after the parks system was developed. Then everybody in the acreage, or everybody from Broward up wanted to move here. And so those are our assets. And those assets cost money, and they cost money to maintain. That's 9% of our budget. For a community as young as ours, I do not think that's a bad investment. The community park expansion, let me explain to you why that's not completed to date. Every 2 years we have elections, like you see here tonight, and you have people with different points of views. And I've heard all through the years, I oppose the park, I want the park, I oppose the park, I want the park. So when we have this election, then you have 3 majority, 2 minority, whatever, and you go back and forth, and you don't move forward with the park, it costs you money. It's cost money. I've stayed steady fast. I had not changed my mind since we set this board as a priority to expand community park. There is assets sitting in there, whether it's dirt, whatever. We had to spend some money on EARN. We had the deck out there. We had the playground implemented. There is some assets in that park. What changes is when your board changes. I will not waver on that. But that's not just what is in there as the whole budget. We have 25% to 30% reserves because we're responsible. And we have excess money, which is what's being pulled out to fix the culvert because we're responsible and we keep the money in the savings where it belongs. When I came back onto this board, we had less than 6% reserves average over this entire community. That's irresponsible. Being responsible is 25 to 30%. And not only that, we've had a clean audit for the last 5 years.
Thank you. Next question, 2 minutes. And we start with you, Gary. If elected, what would you do to develop for the first time a quality control program? If elected, don't start it yet, I'll read it again, because he's thinking. If elected, what would you do to develop for the first time a quality control program? Gary?
Quality control that's a broad question. Quality control when it comes to employees, right now I would like to start a check and balance system. Every department here is operated by one director. Because of his seeing the overall operation, there's no one, this department does not see what the other department is doing. I'd like to make it somewhat like the dog system. They have the A and B departments, what overlaps and checks each other. Quality of life, I would like basically the roads, and we came up, we've expanded on the road stabilization plan to give our citizens options. We bought a water truck because of dust. We initiated a quote seal where citizens want to pave their road, the quarter-mile stretch, they're allowed to do it. Palm Beach used to have a program that used to help pay half of the road program, and it's no longer available. So we had to come up with different options or different choices. We also have a dust chemical spray thing that is supposed to hold down the dust. We have not got back the verdict on that, whether it's good or not. But quality of life to me is being able to be safe, being able to enjoy being out here with traffic. We have to come up with some options.
Thank you, Gary. Tim, the question, if elected, what would you do to develop for the first time a quality control program?
First, I have to see what kind of quality control program we have in place now, and we have to see how we can tweak it. Hopefully, there is one that's in place. I think that everyone needs to be able to report in so that we can see how much work is done on an average basis. When things aren't done that should be done, we need to find out why they weren't accomplished or why they weren't finished on time. And that's part of quality. What happens? Did something happen that was unexpected? Did it rain? Did we have an unexpected encounter with a project? What kept the project from being done on time? What kept the roads from being graded on time? What happened with the canal? What happened with the water? What happened with the park? There has to be some kind of quality control in place. I'm sure that there's some right now. So I'm not going to say, I'm going to start from ground zero. Let's start with what we have. See what's not working, see what is working. Go from that point forward and see if things need to be tweaked. See if there needs to be someone that oversees all 5 divisions or 6 divisions. I forget exactly how many it is. And see if they need to report back. We need to be involved and see why things fail, why things are working, what works well and what doesn't work well. And that's all part of the quality control that needs to be implemented or should have been implemented or is implemented. So that's where I'm at with that.
Thank you, Tim. Michelle, another question?
Yes, quality control plan. Actually, I'm surprised that Supervisor Dunkley didn't go in further. One thing about me, even if I disagree with you, if there's something that you do that I respect, I will say out loud. Actually, under Mr. Dunkley's leadership, he has, over the last 4 years, harped on making sure that we have a better quality control plan, and the result is some of that is sitting up on the wall to his left. And that means whoever's operating the equipment, the amount of hours that they're operating the equipment, the maintenance on the vehicle, the reports from the maintenance on the vehicle, how often those are, etc. So we do have a plan in place. Do I believe that any quality control plan can be improved? Absolutely. I'm sure there's somebody with additional expertise and experience that probably has a better plan to be pitched. And so for me, I'll always be open-minded and looking for those opportunities on some way, presenting something stronger and more. We, under former Supervisor Enriquez's leadership, we implemented a system where you control how much gas, it's a reported strip, and how much gas the employees are putting in their vehicles, et cetera, so we can measure it so that there's no abuse. A lot of that goes on, and throughout the years, I have to say, either under President Jacobs' leadership, she has implemented some ideas. So, kudos to whoever wins the seats up here. If they have additional ideas, I'm open-minded to it. Quality control is important. It's important to the district, to the taxpayers.
Thank you, Michelle. But you know the question.
Yes. With respect to quality control, it can be many different things. It can be regarding your equipment, it can be regarding your jobs, it can be regarding a contract. So since there's already been some talk about the equipment, I'm going to talk about jobs. And I think that when a job is being considered, so for example, the M1 canal, I was going to bring this up earlier. I was by there recently and I saw that they did the pump rebuild there, and it looks really nice. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's on 130th and Orange. But what stood out to me was the fact that the bank around the pump was rebuilt, and so that means that the corrosion from the bank is prevented for a longer period of time. When you look to the south, the banks were not completed. And they're corroding and they're quite a mess. So my opinion is that when you're going to do a job, that you're actually going to complete the job. You look at the infrastructure that's there, and while you're there, it's a lot cheaper to complete that job. Another example is that recently I learned that there were speed bumps that were put on top of let's say pipes that are infrastructure that are aged and are going to collapse if they're not replaced in the next 5 years. Well, we've just spent a tremendous amount of money putting a traffic control speed bump on top of it, and in 5 years we're going to have to tear that up and redo it all just to replace a pipe. So when you're looking at a job, I think it's important to look at all of the infrastructure and rebuild all of the infrastructure at one time to save the district money. That's quality control to me.
Thank you. We now turn to an oral question. I don't know who passed this on to Tony, but Tony and I are both having problems with our hearing aids, so I'm not sure we have it. I'll give it my best shot. I'll repeat it twice so that you'll have a chance. And Tim, we start with you. This is a short answer. Let's make this a 1 minute. The question is, goes back to this accountability issue that every one of you have addressed at one point or another so far. The question is, what is your position on inviting the Inspector General in to assess management? And Tim, go ahead, let's start.
At this time, I don't have any knowledge that we actually need to do that. I think we need to look internally first, see what's happened, see what's gone on, see what's been spent, see what's been misspent, I guess is the correct word, and go from there. If we determine that we found things that need to be looked at, then I say yes, bring someone in and take a look at it. Apparently there's been audits for the past 5 years. The audits have all come back clean. So I'm not sure that it's as bad as people are saying it is that I'm hearing. I'm hearing other people say that it's fine, everything's great. I'm sure that there's a middle ground there somewhere. There's always the middle between one story and the other story and what's actually going on. So I'd have to take a look. I would have to see what's going on. I'd have to look at it myself, and then I can make a recommendation on that.
Very good. Michelle?
I do not support the Inspector General because it's an extra layer of government that's a waste, inexpensive, and costly, considering that we're a state agency that's underneath the Florida Ethics Commission. So there's already an ethics board there. We submit our audits to the Auditor General through the state, so it's already in existence. If Palm Beach County Health District 1 year had 3 frivolous cases brought against them, and the Inspector General came in and cost that district $553,000 that they did not budget for, and not one of them was founded. Unless you're a municipality, which you need to look into, you don't have the fundings that municipalities have the option to fund for the Inspector General. We're a special district. We're a Chapter 298. We're a special district of the state of Florida. We have an ethics commission. We have an auditor general. Those compliances are already in place. Those commissions are there in case there's any failures here. Under our board of supervisors, we had 5 years of clean audit, and this board actually submitted for a forensic audit that went back over 4 or 5 years too. There's nothing wrong with this district's financials.
You folks are great on timing. So Betty, let's see if you can keep it up.
I'm in favor of the Inspector General, and the reason why is because they provide, their office provides oversight on all aspects of the running of municipalities and it would be the special district. That includes contracts. And by the way, I don't know how it would have cost a district $553 million or $1,000 for frivolous complaints when the Inspector General is paid for through contracts. It doesn't cost the taxpayer, it's paid on the contracts. Ms. DeMille voted against the Inspector General last time under the premise that the reason why she was against it is because there was a lawsuit. There were 30 or 15 of the 38 municipalities that were suing the county. And since then, that's been resolved, and I believe there's an appeal on it, but it was in favor of the Inspector General's office continuing.
Thank you, Betty. And you, Gary?
When I first got elected, I opted for a forensic audit. where we started with a clean slate. Since then, we have passed all our audits, but the system is set up where the state, we don't pay for the IG the way that I understand it. It's paid through vendors. I think, and I would support the IG coming in. I think any layer of checks and balances is worthwhile to the taxpayer. We have politicians that are serving time in jail. We need to always keep a check and balance of our money. We need accountability, and I agree with the IG coming in.
Thank you. He nailed it, doesn't he? 2 minutes for the next question. This is a feel-good question. And we start with you, Michelle. Read it twice to give you a chance to think about it. How would you work together on the Indian Trail Improvement District Board because of the Sunshine Law? How would you work with the board members to get your point across, to pass, to get business done without standstill or fighting? It was kind of lengthy. Did you get the gist of the question?
That's Ms. Jacobs' question.
That good enough to get you going?
You know, the Sunshine Law, no, I don't need them. Sunshine Law is extremely complicated. I understand the gist of it. It's truly to make sure that government is acting and operating in the sunshine and is transparent. It does make it very complicated sometimes. I can remember when we negotiated to purchase the Hamlin House, because we put $1.2 million into our equestrian community over the last few years because we made it our top priority here at the district, that it was hard to negotiate a price because we had to do it in the sunshine. Well, that realtor was sitting right here in the audience and can hear the negotiation of the price that the board's willing to max out at. So that's when the Sunshine Law becomes complicated. You know, I don't think I personally have any issue getting my points of view across to the rest of my fellow board of supervisors. I believe being knowledgeable and experienced, being able to debate and be passionate about the things that you care about in your community can be expressed. But it's, you know, most recently was, you know, sometimes you'll have a board of supervisors meeting, you have another 4 weeks till the next one, and an issue comes up that needs to be addressed immediately. And it makes it complicated to address it in a timely manner. But it's government, I believe in transparency, I support the Sunshine Law, and you have to respect it, otherwise you'll end up in an orange jumpsuit.
Thank you, Michelle. How about you, Betty? You got the question?
Yes. I believe that there have been some situations where the board should have been able to meet behind closed doors. The town of Loxahatchee Groves has actually voted quite recently a couple of times to meet behind closed doors, and the requirement to do that means that you actually have a stenographer or a complete recording of the meeting. And at the time that the issue is resolved, then all of the records would become public record. There are situations where it should be utilized because you need to be able to have open and frank discussions without having, you know, the developer listening, whether it be sitting in the audience or, I'm sorry, Gary, or whether they're at home watching it on the video. Sometimes you need to have frank discussions and everybody needs to be in the same room. So that's one thing. The other thing is that there are times where I think that perhaps an additional workshop meeting where you invite the public on specific issues and welcome their input, that it's a roundtable to listen to them, not you, the audience listening to the board, actually hearing that input from the community. So that's what I would do. I think that I can very easily have a conversation here on the board about the issues and make the suggestions when it's necessary to do it otherwise.
Thank you, Betty. Your turn, Gary.
Sunshine. I'm used to working on my own. Being a business person, you learn how to roll up your sleeve and get to work. I get in trouble sometimes. For example, the Moss property, I kind of went all the way up to Tallahassee based on my staff's advice to lobby for extra storage. I don't talk to I don't understand the law, so I don't try and break it. I'm never talking to Michelle Damone or any of my board members. So they kind of say I run a renegade. I do wish there was an option that we could get together, because there are certain matters that we should be able to get together instead of one person doing one thing independently and then waiting to get the scrutiny of the rest of the board members. But it is what it is, and I deal within the guidelines.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Yeah, Gary. Tim?
I think that Betty Argues stole most of my crib notes on that. I agree with her about we are allowed to have closed-door meetings as long as it's recorded so that it can be presented to the public. I believe there are times that you need to do that. A couple of them have already been presented by a board member and someone that's running. There has to be open dialogue with the public, but there are times, like I said, that it needs to be done behind closed doors so that we can figure out what we need to do that's in the best interest of the community without people sitting in the audience that we need to deal with or negotiate with a little later on and not knowing where we stand on everything. So we have a little bit of room, a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of area to work with. So I agree with most of what Betty Argy said, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Next question, starting with Betty. I'll read it twice. What is your position? Let's make this a 1-minute question. There we go. What is your position with regard to giving acreage goods to the county and new developments using acreage roads? What is your position in giving acreage, looks like goods, to the county, and your position on new developments using acreage roads? That makes sense.
Was that supposed to be acreage roads?
I think it's supposed to
Yeah.
be.
What it is?
I imagine it's.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Okay.
Okay, well, I don't want to give any more roads to the county. There's been many roads turned over already, and they shouldn't have been, and as a result, we don't have the control that we should have. So I am not in favor of turning any more roads over to the county. I am in favor of Indian Trail protecting our assets, and that means, rather than what the fear-mongering that I've heard going on is that roads are going to be closed and it's going to increase our response time, and that is just not so. We do not open up the road. We don't have an issue. 60th and Persimmon do not need to be opened up to Seminole Pratt, and therefore we do not have developer traffic coming from Minto or from GL Homes or from Iota Carroll. With respect to Avenir, Avenir is aligned with 140th and Coconut. We can't do a lot about that, but we should be looking at how we can deter that traffic, and we should be working with the county on doing that, since they've already approved the project, and Palm Beach Gardens is the one who is in control of that. Thank you.
Gary?
We should have never given up our roads. We kind of lost. That's the only thing that we have in our favor, is our roads. We should have never given it up. This is why it's the county that has failed us. Minto, GL Homes, and Avenir, they're pawns like we are, because the county should have looked at the situation, looked at the traffic study, and based their decision based on what our traffic was going to be. Because we sold our major roads for $1, we're in this situation now, but we'll be okay. We just have to learn how to negotiate some more harder, using our roads as leverage. That's really all we have. Yeah, right.
I never get calls at night. I don't know.
Go ahead, Gary. I think you should get attention.
Okay. We don't have much options. Right now, they are going to show traffic down our throat. GL Homes has a willingness to work with us. We can't close our minds. Minto, they show no willingness to work. They still owe us the 1 inch of drainage that they promised. Avenir is another nightmare that we have to deal with. But we'll be all right. But we have to sit down and negotiate, strategize. And the only thing that we have to strategize with is our roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And Tim?
Yes, I'm opposed to giving away any more of the roads. I also feel that some of the roads shouldn't have been given away, even though it would have cost us to maintain them. We would have still controlled them and been able to have more control over how the area is used out here, hopefully. As far as the developments that are coming, some of the developments would have happened no matter what we did. They're inside of the acreage. They were planned to be developments out there, but maybe one house at a time, not 300 houses at a time out there. So the roads that we have, in a way, they have a right to use some of those roads because they are our neighbors out there. Some of them are willing to work with us. I'm glad to hear that, but we need to make sure that we get that in writing from them. Not a word of mouth, not a handshake. We need writing from them. We didn't get anything in writing. That's the problem. We need things in writing with people that are coming out here that'll show that they've agreed to what we've asked them to agree to.
Thank you, Gary. Or Tim? Michelle?
Interesting question, because we can judge now in 2016 on things that were done in the 80s and 90s. No one understands that the Royal Inn was the hub of carrying people from North Carolina and New York down here on vacation with a big old map, and they said pick a lot on that map, but you had zero access to it. That was their dream. That's where they were going to retire. So they picked a acre and a quarter somewhere, zero access to it. That was their dream. That's where they were going to go. Well, guess what? Whoever, and it was way before me, negotiated some county roads that they had access to get out to those lots because those residents were demanding to have access to their homes. I did not sit on this board nor make those decisions, but historical knowledge, I understand how we got there. The only decision I've ever sat on this board with was at the sweep at Orange and Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, and there was a small piece that we submitted to the county because that became a public safety, health, and welfare issue with the accidents that were occurring at that intersection, and that's why it developed into the sweep that you see today. Remember, we are residents of Palm Beach County because we reside in unincorporated Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Michelle. Last two questions coming up. The first of those is as follows. Let's make this a 1 minute. Yeah. Regarding Maintenance Parks Division employees, how would you address the favoritism that has been going on for years and pay inequities? To repeat, regarding the Maintenance Park Division employees, how would you address the favoritism that has been going on for years and the pay inequities that go with the favoritism? Is that even a legitimate question?
No, I actually think it's an insulting question.
Okay, well that's good because, good only in the sense that we're ready to wrap up. And here's what I think we should do if you're in agreement. We'll combine your closing statements with this last question. The thinking being that one of the few things you'll remember when you walk out is whatever the last thing they said was. First or last, that's the thinking. So, I'll give you this question. Let me give you the question. You can think a minute while we give instruction to the timekeeper. No, I'm thinking 3.
Okay.
No, you know, go with me on this. Here's the question. What are your top 3 priorities for the district and in what order? Think that's worth 3 with the closing statement? Okay. So you got a closing statement which should include the answer to the question, what are your top 3 priorities? And let's see, we started with you, Betty, so Gary's so good about finishing on time. Let's start with you first.
Should have been a comedian. I never planned to be an elected official. It started out with my kids. And it was a parenting time, it was a parenting moment where I came to Indian Field and I wasn't very happy on the way I was treated or the direction of the board. I went home and complained to my kids, which were at home at the time, and we decided to stand up for our rights. My kids helped me with campaigning. I thought it was a teaching moment. not thinking that I would be elected. And when I did get elected, I'm a perfectionist. I have to know what everything is about. Being an investigator, I'm curious. I want to know how everything works. I put priorities in place. Like I said, my analogy earlier, every house needs a strong foundation. In our house, my priority will always be infrastructure. With infrastructure, our housing values will increase. I tried to talk to Geo Homes and point out how important storage is that we need. We need an inverted siphon that's been put off. And we're working with a set budget. Because we have to make room for infrastructure, we have to organize and budget better. With growth, and I don't hear anyone talking about water. I tried to get water testing, but with growth, we live on an aquifer that's very delicate. I think we need to put emphasis on water. Somehow, in the north, our levels are 16. In the south is 15. Somehow water is being drained, sucked out of our system. And I ask a lot of questions when I'm on this board. Why? Because I do not want to make a decision and not know. Sometimes I already know the answer, but I want the public to be aware of what's happening. So I pull it off a consent agenda so everyone knows what is happening. I will continue to serve you only one more term, and I will give you all with no deviations. I bought a warehouse to open a studio 4 years ago. I haven't opened it because Indian Trail has taken my time. I like the competition and I like serving the public. I'm here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. That's not a bad idea. Let's applaud each of them as we finish, and then we'll give a grand applause at the end of the session. Gary, or Tim?
Thank you. First, I want to thank everybody for coming out here and listening to all of us and having such insightful questions that we had to answer. Top 3 priorities. There's so many things that we need to look at out here, but I think the first thing we need to look at is water management. Last time we had the historic rains. It took forever for my driveway so I could even drive out of my house. I was trapped there for a week. I had to walk out and get rides. So we need to make sure that we address that issue and make sure that we can handle that. We need to take a look at the budget. We need to see if we can work with the BCC, the Board of County Commissioners. I always want to say Broward. And see if we can work with them. And corporations at least 3 years away from everything I'm hearing. Meantime, we need to sit down. We need to make sure we can work with the people that are coming out here. We need to make sure that we get assurances from them, like I said, in writing. We need to make sure that we're working with them and not have them working against us. Everyone feels that everyone's working against us all the time. Let's sit down and see if we can get some cooperation. Change is coming. Do I like all the changes coming? Absolutely not. Am I in favor of Westlake? Absolutely not. I don't know what I can do about it. It doesn't seem like much with the latest rulings that are out there. But we need to see what we can do with what's coming and deal with the people that are out there. Some of them are willing to talk to us. Others, I'm not sure if they are. So again, it's just about working with different people out here. We need to see about... There's lots of things we need to look at, but that was asked for the top 3, so I'll stick to those. Basically, you've seen me sit here and try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. A few of them I didn't have all the answers. That's indicative of the fact that I still need to work and look and see what's going on. There's many aspects to this job up here. I think that I can do all of the aspects that are needed. I think that I can meet the needs that you have out here. I think I can help protect the lifestyles that we have while integrating with the people that are coming out here that we can't seem to stop. Okay? So again, if you need to get a hold of me, you can go out to my website, it's timsayer.com. You can take a look at the questions that I've answered. I'll try to answer more questions up there and see what I stand for. But basically, I stand for what you stand for out here. Let's keep this an equestrian community. Let's keep it the acreage. Let's keep it the way it was as best we can, while realizing that change is coming and we need to see what we can do to address that change while maintaining what we moved out here for. And again, thank you to the ALA and Tony and Rick and all of you for coming out.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the Acres Landowners Association, and thanks for all of you for attending this evening, because I know it's difficult to get out with work and kids and dinner and laundry and all that other stuff that we all do. My top priority, and it shouldn't be a shock to anybody, is State Road 7 connected to North Lake. I've been involved in that since I was 27 years old, and I'm not going to stop being involved until I cut a red ribbon up on the intersection of North Lake and Ibis area where the BB&T Bank is. So I'm determined, and I think we're very close, and I'm excited that I believe we're less than a few years away from actually achieving that. My next one would be traffic calming, and that is a traffic calming plan that we dictate in the Indian Trail Improvement District where traffic goes without impacting response times. I will not decide or make a vote on this board that does anything to infringe on anybody's public safety. You have to see it from multiple sides. We talk about traffic calming so that we prevent accidents, and then we've got to remember that people have heart attacks, that people drown in a pool, that people have an injury, that ambulances need to get to. That's why I thought it was very important to invite fire rescue and the sheriff's department here so that we could speak and understand about response times, and my eyes were open to it. So I really want a traffic calming plan. We're going to have some really smart, intelligent people that are visionaries that can find something that provides both. Prevents traffic accidents, prevents traffic from infringing on our neighborhood plans, but also doesn't hurt response times. And my third one is, because I started in this community as a park advocate, is the community park expansion. I've seen the Acres Athletic League start off at Holville Park with just a grill and a barbecue and a few football teams, and then cheerleading came, and then softball came because the former supervisor, Tony Francetta over here, he wanted something for those girls. And then we expanded. The flag girls football took off, and gosh, they won states and everything out here. And I've watched the Acres Athletic League create our community and really define our youth. And I see it with the last 10 years of the graduates from Seminole Ridge High School. And I've seen what some of those athletes, and we have pro athletes that come from the acreage too. So I wholeheartedly support the expansion of community park. I had somebody approach me today about the BMX part of it. I want more celebrations where people can go out there and just enjoy music or a band or arts and crafts. It doesn't just have to be sports. But the community park, what you see today, whatever you may think of it, is the core of our community. Anything and everything that has been historical out here that has brought this community together, whether it's Really for Life or a car show, has started at Community Park. So that is my third one. I want to see Community Park expanded, finished.
Thank you to the ALA for hosting this event tonight, and thank you for asking the questions and moderating. My priorities are infrastructure with respect to drainage, roads. I think that we need to make sure, like I said earlier, that when we're doing projects that we're investing those funds properly, that we're not just doing part of a job and then leaving the other part, so that when we do have a major rain event, we have flooding. My area is a very good example of that. They came in, they did a whole bunch of swales and didn't complete the job there, and if we have a major rain event, we've got problems in my area. So I think that that's something that is a priority. I don't think anybody wants to have Tropical Storm Isaac happen again here. The next priority of mine would be the roads and addressing how to keep the traffic off of our roads as much as possible. And for our heavily traveled roads, how do we improve those roads and not sacrifice the safety of our residents, whether they be on the sidewalks or whether they be on a horse. I think that the third one is the parks, and with respect to coming up with a program that bolsters the equestrian community, that focuses on the trail system and encourages the equestrian lifestyle to continue out here rather than it disappearing and being pushed out by development. With that, I spend a great deal of time doing research. I do my own reading. If I don't have an answer, if I don't understand something, then I research and I talk to people. And I have a very open mind when it comes to discussing ideas, and I think that as soon as you start to think that you have all the answers, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're wrong. And I don't think I have the answers. I will never purport to have all the answers, but I will seek to find the answers and to find solutions that will work for our community. I think that we have a lot coming before us in the next 5 years, and it's very important to have the right people here leading this community and not selling us out. Thank you.
Two things we still have to do. Number one, Betty, Michelle, Tim, Gary, would you all stand, please? You too. Would you look at your fellow citizens and give them a round of applause for being a great job. Stay on your feet so we can stay in order. Would the rest of you rise and give a rousing Indian Trails
Can I just say thank you? You did an excellent job.